I just watched BTS The Return, the documentary. My thoughts are all over the place. I am overcome. ARMY strong and forever. Let's get into it. There aren't that many artists that I would wake up at 4 in the morning, like set my alarm. That's what I did, cause you know, work and everything. Like I needed to watch before the rest of the day got in the way. Needed to start my day with BTS, RM, Jin, Suga, J-Hope, Jimin, V, and Jungkook. Let me just start with an overall assessment. I only have one complaint. 90 minutes, an hour and a half. I want all of it. I want the ARMY cut. The ARMY cut can be like 7 days a week. Here's the thing about the documentary. It was made for ARMY. Like this wasn't one of those pieces where they produce a film for everybody coming in at any level of BTS. A lot of music documentaries do that. There's like an establishing thing, introducing who all these people are and like a whole section on how they got started. This was for ARMY. We're doing this for the people who know, for the people who would get up at 4 in the morning. I know I wasn't alone. In fact, I'm pretty sure other people got up before me. My point is that this documentary was made for the initiated. Not that the uninitiated won't have something to learn from this or take away from it, but for the initiated, we were fed. Jumping right in, ARMY feels like these are the people we know and who we've been missing. As ARMY myself, I was like, I recognize this cadence. I recognize this chemistry. For me, I think that's what makes me so emotional because like, I missed them. Now we get to see how much they missed us, how much they missed their jobs, how much they missed each other. The familiarity also, of course, for ARMY and for them is like the 7 of them being in one space. Right away, we're just dropped into this house in LA where they've been living. Jin is the last to arrive. I love the way they open that way because Jin arriving is us arriving, bringing us to where the other 6 members have been working and playing and eating together. That is ARMY's invitation. ARMY really is like the 8th member of BTS, right? And we came along with, you know, the oldest member of BTS holding our hand, walking into this house being like, here we are together again, eating together again with this shorthand. At one point, Jin says in the documentary later on, he's like, even though I was the one to arrive last and I didn't really know how to fit into this process, I figured it out really quickly because all it takes is eye contact. That's it, right? Like all of us can relate to that. There are people in our lives, you don't have to say anything. All it takes is a glimpse, a glance. Pages and pages of dialogue are filled in just that one moment, in that eye contact. All these boys, they grew up together. They're now men. They have achieved something extraordinary that no other people in their country have ever achieved. Through that, of course, what you develop, even after going to the military, the solo tours, solo endeavors, all it takes is one look. And you're back. And for ARMY, that's what brought us back. The familiar sounds of them just talking to each other, watching them in like their sweatpants and in their glasses, no makeup on, agonizing over music. We know these guys. We've been watching them since 2013. And another thing that has really characterized BTS for ARMY, why we appreciate them so much, why we fell in love with them, why we're so loyal. From the very beginning, they were real with each other. We've seen tears, we've seen arguments, we've seen uncertainty. This documentary shows that too. It's really raw the way that they're in the studio and they're working on their music. There's nothing here that suggests that they had it all figured out. Also, it wasn't like, there's no fakery in the sense of, it wasn't like they were scripting like, dun dun, suspense. Would BTS be able to do that? ARMY and real fans would be able to sniff that out in a minute and be like, okay, like it was just real. What a writing process and what a creative process might look like. And as a writer myself, not music, essays, I've written a book, I can tell you that often, actually most of the time, the creative process of writing isn't sexy. It's a grind. It's not good TV, but it is work. And that's what they were documenting. And they were like, ARMY will understand. We don't have to manufacture and produce bells and whistles and fireworks. We just want to show them what we went through to make this music. Sometimes it's boring and frustrating. And we were like, oh, I don't know what we're doing. That is authenticity. Recognizable for any ARMY. That's so signature BTS. So in the moment where they're gathered around and they're like debating with each other, are we rushing this? Are we trying to force it? Kind of talking through a stream of consciousness with each other about their doubts. I appreciate it as a pop culture critic, as a fan, because these people have gone to the greatest heights of their profession. It's not like they're new to the album making, music making process. And here they are, they've come out of the army, they've talked about how the landscape of the industry is different now. They're working through their insecurities. Should we be forcing it? Does it feel like we're forcing it? I don't think we're forcing it. Maybe we're kind of forcing it. These are like real conversations, but also, again, not like entertainment. Let me, give you what you imagine what it would be like behind the scenes. It's not glossy at all, but it's real. And of course, what's also like one of the prevailing truths about BTS, how thoughtful and considered they all are, but especially the group leader, RM. We know him to be a poet, a scholar, a student, an appreciator of art in all forms. Here he is, drawing an analogy in his experience of time, being in the military to reuniting with his brothers, using the Greek description of how time moves, chronos and kairos, comparing his experience with time in the army, kind of like a steady progression to time, to kairos, which is the way he sees spending time with BTS, which felt impermanent, meaning like time can be fleeting when you're with people who are so special. The lesson here is that you have to stay present, value it, treasure it, be grateful for it. I'm fumbling this. The way he said it was, extremely worthy of being a student of Socrates or Aristotle. It's just so wonderful to see that RM can, just off the cuff, have like a little moment to himself by the beach where he's just contemplating the perspective of time. For those of us who are like obviously deep army BTS nerds who understand each of these 7 people as individuals, that was just so Namjoon. And of course, throughout the documentary, every moment with each of the 7 members is just as reflective, just flavored in their own individual styles. I love the playfulness of V. They show him going to throw the first pitch at the Dodgers game, like, boo Dodgers. But he was extremely excited about it, but he too was reflective in that moment. That segment also included like a very seemingly somber car ride, edited to look like he's on his way to Dodger Stadium. He actually says, "I miss Korea." They had been working in LA for a couple of months. That's where they wanted to be. It was not a knock on Los Angeles. They wanted the creativity in that environment. But these are Korean guys. They're always gonna be drawn to home. What I love about that now, and have always loved about it, and what ARMY loves about that too, is that so many artists, Kansas, Vancouver, London, actors or musicians or whatever, once you become famous, you end up in Hollywood. We associate BTS with one place. They might perform around the world. They might work on their album in LA, where they always gravitate to, where they always return to, is Korea, which is what makes ARIRANG as an album so special and so signature to them. ARIRANG is an unofficial anthem of Korea. People have been singing it for a long, long time as a way to express, as RM has taught us, the longing for home, missing your loved ones, your affection for where you came from. I think about them working in LA, again, totally voluntarily, where they wanted to create, and yet Korea was always where they were going to return. It was calling to them. Calling their album this very, very Korean word is so poignant in this moment in time. Also so poignant in terms of how they've managed where they've located their celebrity. Okay, one part where I definitely really squealed super loud when V has dinner with his Wooga squad. So ARMY knows that he's got a circle of friends who are actors and performers outside of BTS. So it was kind of like a crossover between my ARMY-ness and my K-drama fanness. I've watched all their dramas. They're so hot. They all met doing K-drama and they always go on holiday together. And it was first of all, so awesome that they showed up in the documentary because they're super famous around the world. They have international fan bases, hello. But they were yeah, okay, we'll be in this, of course, we'll be in this BTS documentary. But they were there as his friends, as his confidants. He had come back to Korea after working in LA with the band, and they're asking him are you happy with the music? How do you feel? And he's obviously spilling the tea. Yeah, we picked our lead single. This is what the vibe is gonna be. They're we can't wait. And they are the biggest fanboys for BTS. They're whenever a new video or whatever drops, all of them are on their social accounts are posting about it. I mean, sorry, I just had to get that in because K-drama fans, we ate too. But But jumping all over the place, going back to that honesty, you know, there's several moments in the documentary when we're talking about ARIRANG, they're like, should we call it that? Are we overstepping? Is it like too Korean? How much of the ARIRANG recording, as in like the folk song, should we include in Body to Body? You know, as people of different cultures, me personally, I'm Chinese, I can relate to that. Living in Western spaces, moving around in Western spaces, doing work that is global. I mean, obviously not on the scale of BTS. I mean, anybody online from anywhere around the world can read what we do on my website. Also for Etalk, in terms of like our show, our social media, this YouTube, wherever you're watching, you know, for those of us like who aren't white and who come from different cultures, that's throughout my life I've asked myself, like, is what I'm saying too Chinese? Is it framed by a perspective that is too Chinese? And here's BTS, like, who became famous not by, you know, shedding their Koreanness, but like fully embracing it. They're putting out this album called ARIRANG and they're like, is it too much? It's just so interesting. It's so real that insecurity can creep in anywhere, no matter how successful you are. I find that really powerful, and I found that such a statement about their humanity. Even though they've become superstars, they are phenomenal, they are a phenomenon. It hasn't taken away their humanity. To be human is to doubt, is to allow sometimes negative thoughts in your mind, and that was happening with them. An added layer of authenticity here is that they debated with each other and their label about how much ARIRANG, the folk song, there should be. And these debates were real. I mean, J-Hope and Jimin were basically arguing that they loved it, they thought it popped, they were hyped by it. RM and Suga were a little bit less enthusiastic. V came out and said, like, is it too much? Is it too on the nose? And we got to see the cameras were rolling in real time during these debates. They were respectful debates, but they said themselves there were two clear groups within the band who felt one way and who felt the other. This is what ARMY appreciate. When we listen to the songs now, we will be able to like remember how they really had to work through their differences. I feel grateful as ARMY to have been brought into that process. Art is never easy, they say it themselves. Art among 7 people, to operate as a unit but still maintain individuality and somehow come out with something that is cohesive and has solidarity and reflective and not fractured. But to get to that point of unity, there are going to be bumps and stumbles along the way. And that's what they're showing us. The pressure for them with this album and this comeback, like unimaginable, right? When you leave at the height of your popularity, 4 years, and then coming back together, for those of us who are familiar with a boy band or two, the possibility seemed impossible. How many times have we seen boy bands where one or maybe 2 of them have great success as solo artists? They don't do another album again. Like, maybe everyone's starting to fade and they're like, let's do this because it's our last option. I'm not naming names. They're still young, they're still vibrant. All of them had solo work that was a smash hit. Okay? It could have been impossible for them to go away for 4 years and then come back together. That alone is, they did that because they wanted to fulfill a promise to us. And then, like, when you make the announcement, yes, we're doing the seemingly impossible, we want to get back together, we want to do it, the anticipation, the expectation, all that pressure. And in this documentary, they show it to us. They're letting the pressure get to them. There's this one moment where V says in the car, he was like, we miss ARMY. He's wondering, like, how much has ARMY changed? The subtext there, at least as I read it, what's ARMY like now? Are they still as intense about us? And it's a fair question, especially in K-pop. You have to have a comeback like every 8 months, a new piece of music, a new album. Otherwise, people will forget about you. You have V here in the car basically saying, is ARMY the same? The answer, V, Tae, is yes. But that question is fair. I don't blame him for asking it. I appreciate it that he did. RM talks about being afraid. Of course, that pressure results in fear. You know, there was worldwide coverage of all of you coming out of the military. Everybody had this date locked in, right? The new album, March, Spring Day. Judgment, criticism, not delivering, getting so personal in your music and then people just like waving it away. BTS has always had doubters, no matter how high they climbed. To see our group leader basically saying, I believe in us, but there's still fear, that's real. It's also fascinating too, like not just as ARMY, but as a pop culture student, these 7 men in relationship to their fame. Arguably, very, very few people from their country have attained the level of fame that they have. And they were candid in this documentary about how they process their fame. Jimin spoke very sweetly in his home, gaming by himself, about he's quite introverted now. He spends a lot of time alone. In his job, of course, he spends a lot of time with people, not just the other band members, but with their managers, with hair and makeup teams. And for him, the way he's been able to ground himself is to spend time with Jimin. We call it self-care. We call it me time. Jimin told us that he prioritizes his me time. Also, like a big part of what they're sharing. Then we see JK playing with his dog, Bam. Hi, Bam. Bam's so cute. The fandom, the ARMY, like ARMY loves Bam, and we got a Bam update. Bam makes a cameo. And in that moment, he talks about, you know, how kind of almost has to separate Jungkook, the artist, the idol, from who he is. All celebrities, the biggest celebrities, have to do that. Like, they have to make these boundaries, what the world perceives you as and how you have to like perceive yourself. Who could go around in their day-to-day 24 hours a day looking in the mirror being like, yeah, I'm famous? It would be so destructive. So it was really powerful to me to hear JK be like, this is how I think of Jungkook, but also I can show up as an idol and do what I do. This is layering here, but BTS is 7. BTS contains multitudes. And so in this documentary, there can be multiple versions of how they feel at any given time. They can feel insecure. They can feel vulnerable. They can also truly understand what place they occupy in the global music scene. And none of that has to contradict each other. This is what that documentary did so well. So what RM says towards the end of the documentary, when they're back in Korea and they're getting closer and closer to launch, the comeback, and he talks about the crown. BTS wearing this crown. They are kings. And he talks about like the weight of the crown, but there's no false humility about the fact that they are wearing crowns. And I love that. I mean, there's swagger in the song lyrics. Like on 2.0, there's a line that's repeated throughout the track. Had your little fun fella, meaning whoever the pretenders to come for the crown might be, but came back for what's mine. I know it's corny of me. I'm a BTS fan where I'm like, that was a fist pump moment for me on the album, but like, that's the BTS swagger. You had your little fun, boys and girls, but the kings have returned. I really enjoy that after all the uncertainty and the hard work that they put into it, our group leader, RM, is like, okay, but this is really when I started sobbing, because like with BTS, they have swagger, but it never overshadows the sensitivity. The sensitivity is the thing that made me ARMY, and I believe truly in my heart what makes ARMY so devoted to them. They're so sensitive and soft with each other. We love the music, of course, we love the performance, we love like the fits, we love the videos, but what we love the most is how much they love each other. And did I sob when you can hear JK, the youngest member, they're doing a photo shoot. He basically looks around and he's like, yay, we're back together again. And that is the magic for us as ARMY, right? OT7, BTS is 7, them loving each other, wanting this that they made, wanting to still be part of it. It's rare. Like, we've seen it. Some people don't come back. Not only did they want to come back, they like ran back to each other. That's what the emotion was building to throughout this documentary, because these were the moments we saw. They have said they missed eating together. We saw them eating together. They have said they missed teasing each other and joking with each other. They're playing in the water together. They're running on the beach together, working in the studio together. There's all kinds of new inside jokes together. All of those moments were shown to us as ARMY to like reassure us. They're as close as ever. They're as loving with each other as ever. They're as soft with each other as ever. Jin was the first to leave LA. He obviously had to go back to Korea for other commitments. And when he was saying goodbye to the other members, a moment where he like lies in bed on top of Jungkook and like their arms are just around each other. It's just the way brothers would hang out with each other softly while teasing each other. That is the kind of visual we've gotten from BTS throughout their career. Always been tactile with each other. They hug a lot. It's just affection and closeness, intimacy. It's soft masculinity. We could use a lot more of that as the antidote to toxic masculinity. We don't see that a lot from Western artists. We probably don't see that a lot from all global artists floating throughout this documentary, and that softness was encapsulated by Jungkook saying, we're back together, we're all together again, as if to say like, thank God, I love this. This is home for me, and it's home for ARMY. That was like one of the final takeaways for me as ARMY in this documentary. This is where they were meant to be, they all know it. So by the time they get together in the studio and all 7 mics are standing up and they're singing Swim, singing for each other as much as they are for us, that for me as a fan was the ultimate like love letter. As long as they love each other, I also feel loved. Thanks, BTS. Thanks for listening to my BTS rambling. If you watch the doc, I invite you to ramble in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching.